Thank you for joining us today again, and hope everyone is staying safe and keeping well. So today's webinar is about accelerate and scale, and we're going to be seeing Simply Business's journey with data. My name is Prashant Ramachandran. I am a customer success manager here at Looker, and I will be your host and moderator for today's presentation. With me today is James O'Hare, Data Solutions Engineer at Simply Business. And we will be discussing how Simply Business has transformed their tech stack, processes, and best practices for continually advocating for a data culture and integrating insights into employee workflow. So we're just about to start in a couple of minutes, but I want to just go over a few housekeeping items before we do that. As you may have noticed, this interface may not be something that you're normally used to. So I just wanted to give you a quick review of what options you have on your screen. So the way the presentation is laid out today is I'll be giving a little bit of an introduction to Looker, and then we'll have the bulk of the presentation given by James, and then we'll have about 15 minutes or so of Q&A session at the end of his presentation. So if you want to ask a question to either me or James, you'll notice that there's a Q&A button at the bottom. You can click on it, and then it'll open up the Q&A window, and you can type in your questions there and hit send, and it will be sent over to us. Feel free to submit questions along the way, and then when it's time for the Q&A session, we'll pick them up and try to answer as many as possible towards the end of the presentation. This presentation is also going to be recorded, and we'll be sending out the recording after it's over. So the window you see on your screen are all actually customizable, meaning you can actually minimize them or click on the option at the bottom, the toolbar menu at the bottom, and then it will bring it up again. You can also adjust the size of the windows to best fit your screen. Again, if you accidentally minimize or close a window, don't worry again. You can click on it again at the toolbar menu at the bottom, and it'll bring it back up. Okay, so those are all the items I wanted to cover. So I think we can get started. So like I said, I'm going to give you a little bit of an introduction. And what I wanted to cover is basically powering data experiences to drive growth. Oops, give me 1 second. Right, yeah, for a little bit of an introduction to Looker itself, our mission at Looker has always been to empower people through the smarter use of data. And how we have done this has evolved over the years to help more companies and to have more people join our mission. Over 2,000 companies partner with Looker today to harness the power of their data and to empower their people to drive successful business outcomes and also deliver better experiences for their customers. The need for better customer experiences has been the catalyst for digital transformation at leading enterprises around the world, and the Looker platform's ability to deliver timely, actionable insights and infuse data into any business workflow has made it the go-to choice for those companies. So we hear this term digital transformation bandied about quite a bit, but what does it actually mean? What it means really is a profound shift in the way companies use technology to deliver value to their customers. It is without a doubt the number one priority for technology leaders today. But we're not talking about just the conventional understanding, and you can see from the statistics that is on your screen today that business intelligence and data analytics is the top priority for how you can have digital transformation today. And we're not just talking about conventional understanding of data and analytics, because according to Gartner, spending and focus on traditional query and reporting BI environments will shift dramatically to analytics integrated into business operations and digital solutions. So what we're talking about really is a fundamental change in the way we're used to thinking about data and working with data. Forrester calls the companies that are doing this well as insights-driven companies. So these are the companies that are using data to drive growth and create differentiating experiences, products, and services. The idea is that data is not just something that we analyze, but actually something that can be infused into everyday business processes to make employees smarter, optimize operations, or even drive new streams of revenue. So we're talking about expanding the idea of traditional BI and bringing it into the modern era, the era of data-driven experiences. But what are data-driven experiences? Data experiences can represent really any number of ways in which companies drive value from data. That could be reducing costs and mitigating risk, or adding value by increasing revenues or even optimizing spend. Or external economic value by monetizing data and generating new revenue streams or value streams. Looker's platform offers a unified surface to access the, offers a unified surface to access the truest, most up-to-date version of your company's data. With this unified view into the business, you can choose or design experiences that assure people and systems get data delivered to them in a way that makes the most sense for their needs. And beginning with modern BI, Looker's world-class BI experience puts trusted, actionable insights into the hands of decision makers and helps cultivate a data culture throughout the organization. And here are some examples on your screen of customers who have done various ways in which they have delivered good data experiences. For example, Sunrun. They're bringing all of their company's data together to get a unified view of their customer. They have self-service analytics for every part of their business, from managing installations of new solar panels to making sure customer service teams are running at the highest quality of customer support. So it's not just internal stakeholders that want data available to them, but even like some external ones. For instance, namely, they give their customers access reports and dashboards within the product to better understand their staffing needs and trends. But then again, BI is just one way in which you can deliver a data experience. At companies like Stripe, sales reps have more context on customer calls with valuable usage data embedded within Salesforce. With fresh, accurate data on hand, it's easy to optimize workflows with data. For instance, SalesLoft, another customer of Looker, they were able to reduce churn with automated alerts and email follow-ups for success managers based on customer health. They built a customer health tracker that not only notifies the success team when health is low, but also populates emails within their engagement platform. So all they need to do is just say, hit the go button, and then it would start re-engaging with the customer. Future Play is an example of another type of data-driven experience. This company actually increased their revenue 3 times by building a fully automated AI-powered bid bot that optimizes their ad spend by automatically adjusting bids based on real-time performance. So those were some examples. So a modern approach to data and analytics really requires a modern technology foundation. So Looker was designed to take advantage of evolving trends in data infrastructure. The technology powering Looker is based on mainly 3 pillars. Number 1 is the in-database architecture. This leverages the power of modern cloud MPP databases, or massively parallel processing databases, that are significantly more powerful, far faster, and much cheaper than their predecessors. This live connection to the database provides a complete view of your data without having to move any of it into the application layer. Instead, we query the database in real time, so data is always accurate and fresh. So this is what we call ELT and not ETL. The second one is the version control semantic layer that acts as a centralized definition of all of your business rules and business logic. It separates business logic from physical data and allows you to reliably apply consistent definitions across KPIs. So both technical and non-technical people can work with trusted and reliable data. And finally, our APIs give data builders the tools they need to deliver any data experience anywhere. You can build custom applications, you can build proactive rules-based alerts, schedule reports, and even automate workflows. So these capabilities are built on a flexible multi-cloud architecture. We believe that organizations need to modernize at their own pace, whatever your stack. So we have a strategic commitment to a multi-cloud approach because we believe it's critical for companies to choose the environment that works best for them. So both today and in the future, we will honor this commitment. So that was a quick overview. So now we have James to talk us through their journey at Simply Business and how they were able to accelerate and scale with data. Over to you, James.
Thank you, Prashant. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining this webinar today. I'm excited to take you through our journey. And this talk is called Accelerate and Scale Simply Business's Journey with Data. And I'm James O'Hare, a data solution engineer at Simply Business. Right, so the agenda for today. So I'm going to talk briefly about Simply Business. You've probably not heard of us and about what we're doing here. I'm going to talk about the DNA team of which I'm a part of. I'm going to also then talk about how data is changing the business, our current architecture, and then how the journey has progressed from when we started with Looker many years ago now and where we've ended up, and then also take you through some cool things that we've done during that journey. Okay, so who are we? So Simply Business, we're an online broker of business insurance, and we currently have over 600,000 customers. We originally started out in the UK, but we've recently opened an office in Boston in the US. We've won numerous awards for our pioneering use of data and technology, including Best Company to Work For in the Sunday Times in 2015 and 2016. In 2017, we were taken over by Travelers, the big insurance giant over in the US. And we're also now a certified B Corp corporation, which is awarded to businesses that meet the highest standards of verified social and environmental performance, public transparency, and legal accountability to balance profit and purpose. I just about managed to get those words out there. And so what is the market that we're operating in? So it's a very large market. So small to medium enterprises, or SMEs, account for 99% of the small businesses in the UK. And individually, these may be small, but as an aggregate, it's very large. So you can see there in the UK, £1.9 trillion annual revenue in the UK, and 8.3 trillion annual revenue in the US. So yeah, that is a big reason why we've moved over to the US as well. So that's just a little bit about what we are and what we do. But now let's get into the details. Let's talk data. So the DNA team is the team that I work in. So it stands for Data and Analytics, this kind of work. And we're a multidisciplinary team of BI analysts, data engineers, data scientists, and insight analysts. And as a team, we're broken up into these different strands, as we call them. So we have the data platform. They're providing the back-end infrastructure for all the data. And then we've got connected CRM and marketing, who are using the data that we're producing as a company and then using that to delight our customers. We have the insight analysts, who are making sense of the data that's been created and allowing the product teams to make better informed decisions. We have business and commercial, the strand that I'm a part of, who are empowering business functions to make decisions and create value through data, basically working with the business teams across the organization. And then data science, which I'll touch on later, but it's self-explanatory, and how we're moving Simply Business into becoming a machine learning company. And there's elements from each of these strands throughout the talk today. This is just a diagram that shows how our strands are interacting with the business and the product teams and the capabilities that we offer. So back to the beginning, where we were when we implemented Looker, and this was a very long time ago now. So we're one of the first adopters in the UK. I checked, and the first commit in our repository in GitHub was the 20th of July 2014. So a very long time ago. And it was chosen to allow us to explore our snowplow event data on our new Redshift massively parallel processing database. Just a way for us to interact with this data and provide insight to our users. KPI reporting was outside of the initial scope of the project, and we only granted access to a few users from a limited number of teams. But where are we now? So this is where we've got to. So we've now got a much bigger data architecture. We've got Kafka powering most of our applications. We have snowplow events from various different web applications and our contact center applications. We've got data from our back office, and it's all funneling into our Snowflake database, where we're using dbt to build domain data models. We're also loading data in using our custom-built Area IO input-output application, which is basically loading data from external sources and then sending data out of the organization. And then Looker and our other BI applications sit on top of this this database. So that is where we're at now, and I'm going to talk about how we've got to that point and how Looker has taken us on that journey. So the step up. So back in 2016, we've been using Looker for around 2 years and had around 80 active users per day. We had marketing who were big users of it. We'd implemented using Area IO, brought in Google AdWords data, which explorers are being used to look at PPC spend. And we'd also built some explorers that represented our back office system, so purchases that were being made on our online website. And these were being used by different teams across the business. So we had good adoption, but it was still limited as to how many people were using it. And then as part of this step up in 2017, this was a big change for us. We built a contact center application called Idiophone using Twilio. If you don't know, Twilio is a contact center API platform to allow you to build a call center effectively as an application. So it opened up a huge new area of the business to using Looker and also getting used to using data. And we did a big jump up from 80 to 200 active users per day, which was a big step up, as I'm sure you can imagine. So how did we do it? So a big step was having day zero reporting available in Looker. So it got adoption immediately. We were empowering many more users to start working with data on a daily basis. And it was Looker that allowed us to do this. So how did we do it? Well, we had to onboard a whole new area of the business who weren't particularly data savvy employees, as it were at that time. So we had to do targeted training. So that involved myself and other people going to our other office in Northampton in the UK and training people. So running training sessions, showing them how to build looks, how they can start looking at the data that's coming out of their call center. But I just wanted to make the point that it was not only a big step up in the number of people using Looker every day, it was also a big step up in the data that we're generating and the data that we can then use to provide insights and actions for other applications, which again I'll touch on further on in the talk today. And this is a great example of how we've used data to make people's lives easier. So historically, when somebody in the call center wanted to look up historic call recordings, so for compliance purposes, there may be someone asking to hear a conversation that they had, it would take 2 days and it would involve somebody manually going through a server, looking for a particular file name which had a timestamp on, and then trying to tally that up with a phone number that may or may not have been correct. So not a great process. But what we built here, we actually, with the event data that's coming out of Twilio and Idiophone, we're able to access call recordings via Looker just a few minutes after they've occurred. So we're able to click through on, you can filter for any call recording, you can filter for all the dimensions that we've put in there, and then you've got immediate access to the call recording. So that went from a 2-day process to just a couple of minutes. So that is a great example how we've implemented a process within Looker that's making people's lives easier. Okay, so the next phase. So we've now got lots of users. We've now got different areas of the business interrogating data and using data. But we also need to make sure that we're doing things in the correct way, and we're making things, again, continuing to make things easier for people. So over time, the role of Looker drifted. So as I mentioned previously, it was originally a tool for exploration of web data, but with these new data sources being introduced, people started using it for other reasons. So it had kind of just drifted into becoming a tool for KPI reporting as well. So whereas historically these differences in definitions of metrics didn't matter, they then started to actually matter, because then it started to, we needed more trust in the system. So data silos and inconsistency had grown. We needed to move to data being the source of truth and not the BI application, whether that's our legacy data warehouse or Looker or other ML applications. We had to have consistency across the applications and a single source of truth, and that became the goal. So not only did we have to improve our data quality, but also our documentation and workflows, as we needed a single source of truth. So that was when we took the decision to move to dbt and Snowflake, and we built our analytics hub. So the analytics hub is an entry point for people in the organization to go to both go into dbt, which is a command line SQL tool that allows you to build data models and also do documentation for them, but also to keep that in one place. So we have access to dbt, to Looker, to our schema registry, and we want, with the aim of improving data discoverability and also tracking data from it being created at source to being built in dbt and defined in there, and then also into Looker models. And you can see the lineage all the way back from Looker through dbt and then back into Snowflake and the original application. So that was a big step up for us. And then we also came up with the concept of core data. So over time, we have lots of people who are data savvy and are wanting to build new things. But with that becomes there are other issues that come out of that. So consistency, again, was the aim of the game. We wanted to create core data sets that represented the domain of the business that could then be taken and then used by other applications and other teams. So we didn't want those people to be writing the same queries again and again and again with slightly different logic that leads to questions and leads to inconsistencies down the line. So we came up with the concept of core data, which is another big step in making our data platform scalable. So yeah, as I mentioned before, so we've moved all the complicated logic out of our existing legacy warehouse and out of Looker and out of PDTs and storing it in one central place. The aim of this is to make it more accessible and maintainable. And we're also able to document our models and detail who owns them. So this also allowed us to create a relationship between our Looker models and our dbt models so that they're consistent. We have marketing dbt models and marketing Looker models, and you can see the path of the data through that, improving the data discovery. But there was much to do in Looker as well. So improving documentation, personalizing Looker with help and training content, including videos, implementing developer workflows, and sunset strategies and user management. These were all things that we needed to do at this time. So it's about just providing clarity for developers, but also clarity for our end users. And the features in Looker 7 are massive help in this. And that is definitely something that we've learned going along. There's lots of quick wins to be had, but there is a cost to that, and you need to make sure that you're aware that in the end that does come back. So now we're into Accelerate. So this is where I'm going to talk to you about, as we've gone on that journey, how we've used Looker and also other applications to get buy-in and get across the business. So the contacts framework. So the contacts framework was created solely in Looker, and the verbose description is it consolidates customer contact details collected from a wide variety of sources and combines them with product, demographic, geographic, and behavioral attributes to provide teams with the ability to segment audiences and deliver responsive email campaigns. So there's a lot of words there, but the process effectively, so it's with Exact Target. And Exact Target, if you don't know, is a Salesforce product that allows targeted email to be sent to your customers. And the process previously was a big file was loaded into ExactTarget every day of all our customers, and then the ECRM team would then go into ExactTarget and attempt to create segment audience campaigns within that tool. And it was not the best process. The UI is supposedly quite cumbersome, and there were many issues with that. So we looked at a way of getting, like, how can we use Looker to improve this process? And it was actually a very successful project. So quite simply, we load the data into Looker, and then the ECRM team can use the power of Looker to create segmented audiences to send to ExactTarget. But then we just integrate that with ExactTarget. So the ECRM person just creates a sample file for landlords who own houses in London, for example, and then they create that as a look, and then they schedule that to be sent to ExactTarget SFTP. So a very simple process, but it actually has made the job of ECRM much easier. And as an example here, they've been able to got many different automations set up with ExactTarget, which are sending customers emails on different schedules. And again, it's not a perfect system. Obviously, we'd like to be able to automate our own emails, but for time to value, Looker added a real benefit in this situation. Okay, another very, very cool application that we've got called Full Contact, which I'm going to talk about now. So Full Contact is our in-house offline contact management system. It uses Kafka to collate data points from across various applications, and then uses machine learning algorithms to choose how to contact our customers and when to contact them. It will then notify our SMS, email, and contact center applications with instructions what to do and when. The lead scoring element of this is an algorithm that ranks leads that come from our website so that they can be contacted in priority order. And Looker is being used to track the performance of these algorithms and monitor them. This is only made possible by the data infrastructure and culture that we've built at Simply Business. So the product teams, when they're building applications, they know about this functionality, and they know that the data that they're creating within their applications isn't solely for powering that application. It can be used at very, very different points of the pipeline. And people are incentivized to look at that when they're designing applications at Simply Business, and how they can be used across the whole ecosystem. And again, another very cool use of Looker and machine learning at Simply Business. So voice analytics. So there's a lot of talk of voice analytics at the moment with scanning transcripts and recognizing people's voices and whatnot. But we've actually got a very cool thing that's set up here. So we're now using voice analytics to track adherence to compliance requirements. So a requirement in the UK, in the Financial Services Authority, I believe, or another regulatory organization, requires that as an insurance broker, when we're talking to our customers, we have to say a certain script to make sure that we're always advising our customers in the correct way. So we've set up a neural network that scans our phone call transcripts to check that the consultants working in our Twilio-based contact center are using the correct scripts when talking to our customers. And we use Looker to monitor the performance of this neural network. And I have an example right here. And just out of interest, that was built with using Amazon SageMaker, which is, again, another tool that we're utilizing quite heavily at the moment. So this is an example of a transcript that you can see in Looker. So left to right is the call, the full call, and you can see that the neural net has recognized that around 47 seconds, I think that is, it's identified that script has been said at that point. So it's scanned through the transcript of the call and has identified that the customer has been that the consultant has said the right things. So again, this is revolutionary in a sense that historically, to track the performance of this, to ensure we're compliant, people would have to, in the company, would have to go in and listen to X percentage of phone calls and then report on how many of those we have been able to have been done correctly. Whereas now this can all be automated, and will further improve our relationship with our customers and ensure that we're doing the right things by them. And last but not least, so this again is a kind of shout out to the culture that we've got at Simply Business rather than in a particular application. So we have a concept called the Lab, which is an A/B testing framework and meeting of the business. So a bi-monthly meeting providing support, knowledge, and a discussion forum for experimentation across the business. So we have lots of A/B tests running all the time, and this is a forum where different elements of the business get together and talk about tests that are running, discuss past successes, new successes, ensure that tests aren't running concurrently that may have a negative impact on each other. And again, this was just about building relationships with the business and the data culture, and showing people the power of data as it is at Simply Business. Cool. So learnings on this journey. I mean, this was the final slide. It took me a while to come up with this, but basically building a data culture is more important than any application. So there's a lot of various applications there, but without a strong data culture, then we'd never get buy-in for any of these things that I've talked about today. So having a business that recognizes the value of that and that can see that what you're doing is providing value. And you can also generate a lot of that by quick wins, as I described earlier, the call recordings or the contacts framework. It's a way of using data to improve existing processes. And the final point, which I feel I have to make, is very important. So investing in people is what drives the continued success of Simply Business. So all of the examples I've talked about today, we've all been driven from the ground up, from developers, from engineers, from product managers, all coming up with ideas of making things and creating things better. So yeah, if I can leave on that point, I hope you've enjoyed this chat today. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask them and I'll do my best to answer. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, James. Just another quick point here. If you have any questions, feel free to post them in the Q&A box, which you can open up by clicking on the Q&A button in the toolbar menu at the bottom of your screen. But I have a couple of questions to just start the Q&A session, James. Great presentation again. You mentioned about the product teams being aware of the framework that they're operating in. How did you make them responsible for the data that they own and the outcomes that they create?
Thank you for that. So it's been a long process. It's not been plain sailing all the way. But recently, in the last few months or 6 months, we've introduced a concept called within our team called data mesh. And it's a paradigm to share data across the company. And it's based on considering domain models as a first-class concern. And it allows them to apply platform thinking to create self-data structure and treating data as a product. That's the basis of it. So historically, people in the product teams had to conform to the data structures that we required in Redshift. Whereas with Snowflake, we've been able to allow a lot more semi-structured data to be passed in, for example. And yeah, just allowing data to be part of the product team's process, not something that is thrown over the wall at the end of building an application. I think when you're in that situation, it's very difficult to get the value out of it that you require. So yeah, working with the product teams, the distributed data mesh is a component of that. But yeah, making sure you're working with the product teams from the initial design of their applications as well is very important.
Great job. Yeah, and then somewhat related to that, how did you go about defining the core business concepts and metrics, especially at the stage where you decide, okay, we need to scale up here, and there's a lot to be done?
Yeah, so there were many elements to that. So it started from the idea that there were things that happened in Simply Business that everyone knew about, but it had never really been defined. So teams had one interpretation of what, for example, what a customer was, and other teams might have a different one. So the start of that process was getting in a room, getting the relevant parties in a room, and having some fairly intensive domain modeling sessions and looking at what is the Simply Business domain, what are the building blocks of that, what is a customer, what is a policy, what is a claim, what is a quote, and then getting together and then coming up with these designs to show the business what it actually is. And then those designs then feed into the product teams and how they're building additional components of that. And then replicating in data then is very simple, because we're getting those models like almost by design.
Got it. Understood. Nice one. Okay, so I see some questions that have come in now. Why did you decide to migrate off of Redshift, and why to Snowflake?
So there were many reasons for this. So Snowflake, what originally, as I mentioned before, so the semi-structured element of it was very powerful to us. We were using Kafka loading data in as JSON has been very useful to us. I know Redshift does allow it, but it's not really optimized for it. The separation of storage and compute was very important to us. So we're constantly having full Redshift cluster, and we wanted to be able to, generate more and more data without that storage cost being an issue. And yeah, just the general performance of that, basically. So those were the two main elements to it. I mean, we tested out a few other platforms as well, but yeah, we settled on that being the one for us at that time. It wasn't all plain sailing. I mean, a lot of our data models were very, very, very optimized for Redshift and the way that we were doing things. Sort keys and distribution keys, and those worked very well in some circumstances. But then when we had to migrate that over to Snowflake, it was not plain sailing. Let's put it that way. But worth it in the end.
Got it. Yeah, and I see another question now, which may be related to this again. Just like, now that Looker is part of Google, do you see maybe an advantage in considering BigQuery instead of Snowflake?
I think that there were elements of BigQuery that we liked, definitely. I think that the pay by compute is very similar to Snowflake, and I think over time they'll converge further. We did experiment with Google, and it does have some impressive performance, to be honest, as well.
Got it. Nice one. And then I also noticed that that you've done a lot of development in-house. You've created all of these applications, which is great. But then you've also used a lot of various technologies here. How was that sort of journey? Where you made decisions to build things in-house versus maybe potentially buying a pre-built application?
It's a fundamental part of the Simply Business culture is we think with the phrase create something better. We're always looking to build things ourselves. Having a team of very talented developers and engineers definitely helps with that. But yeah, it is we say we're a tech company that does insurance. And I think that is very true. We're always able to promote new things, and we like the idea of building our own things. We're buying things off the shelves. I think, like current times, there is a lot of off-the-shelf things. For example, the Airy input-output application that we built for loading data into and out of Snowflake. Now we would just use Stripe or Singer, and we're actually migrating over to Singer at the moment. But yeah, if you can do it better yourself, do it better. But yeah. Got it.
Nice one. I think this will be the last question, unless there are more questions that come in. So in addition to the product, call, and marketing teams, are there any other departments that use Looker, or is it pretty much organization-wide?
Yeah. It's pretty much organization-wide. So finance are using it now for various different purposes. Marketing, the operations team, which is the contact center, pricing. It's used across the business, both in the UK and the US. Not every team, but that's primarily because of data, not because of Looker. Either because there is some off-the-shelf applications that they've built that we aren't able to integrate into our into our data
Right.
pipeline, or it's just not generating data to use. But it is just a case of it's not Looker that's the issue or Snowflake.
Got it. Okay. So those are all the questions. Thank you, everyone, for submitting your questions. Thank you again for attending this event. Hope you enjoyed it and hope you got something out of it. Just a quick reminder again, this has been recorded, this session, so we will be sending the recording over to you shortly. But that's everything. Thanks, James, for joining us.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, have a good rest of the day, wherever you are based. Take care.